I'm Rob.
I'm John.
And this is the Mint One podcast,
where we talk all things NFTs and the rise of blockchain gaming.
So John, ChatGPT has gone viral this week.
It has, and it will have a wide range of applications in Web3. Let's dive into them.
Okay, yes, AI and ChatGPT. They have gone mega viral this week. Obviously, AI has been a large discussion for a long time, but ChatGPT is wild. I mean, it's one of the craziest things I remember being released in my life. I honestly cannot believe the level this thing is running at. Like me and my friends, it's replaced Google. I mean, we just ask ChatGPT now. Yeah, it's great. Have you used it much?
Used it quite a lot, actually, yeah. So the second it was, well, maybe not the second, but very shortly after it was released, because I've been following what OpenAI have been doing for a very long time. I shared it internally in the Pink team, and we've certainly found application for it. I know on the content side, it's happened a lot with, well, obviously at the moment, when it comes to our writers doing articles, you know, I have to edit things, and ChatGPT is a strangely adept, editing tool. So being like, hey, can you like take this bit of text and just make it grammatically correct, or make it more engaging, or something like that, and it does a really good job of actually running through that and doing that for you.
It's pretty scary. Like it speaks
scary.
with kind of like one that obviously I've edited so many articles. I'm way lost count at this point, and many different writers, and I can often tell each writer apart after I've read enough articles just by the sort of words they choose and the way they express things, and if things are a little bit muddled or if they're very plain. And ChatGPT kind of captures all of these different quirks of language in different response. Like when I get different responses from it, sometimes I think, like I'm going to read a few. I asked it some Web3 questions to see what it would say.
Interesting.
And some of them, it uses little turns of phrase that are language specific. Like it said something like, it's up in the air at the moment, which is such a spoken word phrase. You don't really write that very much, which is really interesting that it's doing that. I mean, I don't understand, you know, how it's doing what it's doing, because the things people are doing with it that I've seen already in the first couple of weeks. There's a guy building an entire game using it. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
He's building a little platformer, and he's creating the graphics in the other Dolly. He's using that to create the graphics, and then it's crazy. It writes code better than, you know, most average coders. It's blowing my mind. And it can be very useful.
It's been incredibly, even in the very short time it's been live, it seems to have changed the face of just internet technology, really. I mean, it seems such a massive step forward that's happened in just one website going live, basically. I think it got 1 million users in 5 days, which it blows pretty much anything else internet based out of the water. And Joe, it's been an invaluable tool, and it's not just the natural language processing that's like code review, which is
I know,
just unbelievable that you can just paste it code and be like, hey, I think there's something wrong with this, and it'll be like, this thing here's wrong, maybe you should do this instead. Which is, for like a human to learn that would take, you know, a lot of years of studying programming in particular languages, but you can just stick it in a chatbot, and the chatbot will tell you, oh yeah, this is wrong, change this.
Yeah.
Which is
have
crazy.
you ever seen the website, Is My Job Safe from Robots? Or it's something similar to that.
I don't think so, no.
And it gives you a percentage of how safe your job is from robots. It's just, that timeline has just moved up. Like massively, because it can do most basic things. You don't need, if you have a rough idea of coding, like you can, you know, you have the basics down. You could use it for so much stuff to code at a more advanced level. Like, how do I just do this for me? And it will do it. It's crazy. And what the guy, actually, this was a different guy. A guy was doing something in Unity. I think he was trying to make realistic rain in Unity. Okay. and it said, do this, do this, do this. And it pasted him all of the different, things that he needs to put into the client. And it even said, when you do this, you'll get this error. To fix this error, do this. It preempts its own errors. It's just wild. I don't know how I just don't know how it can work. And the thing is, the more queries it gets from people, the more powerful it's going to become, which is even crazier.
The better it gets. Once you've used it for a certain length of time, you will start to notice repetition, and particularly if you're asking it to write longer pieces, it has a very particular structure for how it does it. It will start with this is this and this is this, and overall here's this. But for just purely like generating ideas, or for tightening things up, or for fixing errors, there's nothing out there that's really like it. And it ties into a little bit the event that we had in London, Enter the Metaverse London, which happened a couple of weeks ago. Because at that event was a certain Ben Gersel, who is the chief executive officer of SingularityNet. And he's one of the world's leading specialists on AI. And he was basically at the event to discuss how AI could affect the metaverse. And obviously this was before ChatGPT became available to the public. But I think ever since ChatGPT has become available, it's got a lot of people thinking about the future of the internet. And funnily enough, one of the topics brought up in Ben's speech at Enter the Metaverse was using AI to create believable non-player characters in video games and in metaverse environments. So obviously, if we want these alive virtual worlds, and we have this in MMOs all the time, it's gotten a lot better in the last 20 years, I must say. But a lot of the times, when you're talking to an NPC. It has boilerplate responses, and it doesn't, you talk to it and it has 3 options, or it says the same thing every single time.
Can I help you? Basically, over and over.
Yeah, exactly. Or the infamous Skyrim ones that just hilarious.
Dead-eyed responses.
But the ability to put, let's say you had a video game, MMO, or let's say a metaverse environment where you have shopkeepers and other people wandering about the place to make these environments feel more alive, and these NPCs used ChatGPT, for example. So when you approached them, you said, you just bumped into them, you said hi, or you tried to interact to talk with them, they wouldn't just have, nowadays 10, 12, 14 different scripted responses. They would use AI and this gigantic database of knowledge to formulate natural language responses that I think is just going to, once we have this technology in things like video games and more engaging things than just a text box, basically, it's going to really change kind of the scope and the scale and how engaging video games can be. And I think it opens a Pandora's box of sorts for what the future of Web3 could be.
Yeah, it's crazy. I kept thinking, how long is it going to be before someone combines CGI, deep fake of a celebrity, the voice faking script tool, which already exists and is free, and then this to create speeches in their linguistic style? Like, it's getting scary. But then I think the NPC thing is very interesting. I think that's also really fun. I think it'll add an element to a lot of different games. Any game that has NPCs in it will be improved. And I wonder if it will change the decision making of players. If you're going to just blast some old lady in the head just because you're bored, if she starts talking to you about how her husband died in the war, and I wonder if you think, oh God, now I find it hard to, how people would shoot dogs in games.
Yeah.
I can't even really do that. I hate animal cruelty so much that I find it difficult to shoot even a cartoon dog. So if people started talking to you, and then what happens next? Where does it go from there? Because, so imagine GTA 6 comes out and it's got AI NPCs. And one of the things that I know a lot of games have been aiming at is that the NPCs were just boring and dumb. They would not only in chat, but in their movement and life, they would just walk up and down streets, or they wouldn't actually do anything. They wouldn't engage with anything. Whereas you could have them, going to work and then coming home and going to the same house every day and going to the shop once a week, or, that you could put in these patterns, more realistic patterns. But then what happens if, like, are you going to become friends with certain NPCs? What if you get an NPC that's got a really similar personality type and you just enjoy chatting with them? And what if they start giving you good advice? Like, when you have a problem, you'll think, I just got to log in GTA 6 and speak to Max at the airport and see what he thinks about my problem. Like, there's so many entailments that can come from this that is a bit creepy. It's a bit Black Mirror.
It's very creepy. It's whilst it has been this kind of breakthrough piece of technology for the internet, it is still, or for many people, it's the first iteration of something that can in the future be incredible. Yeah. We've had plenty of AI-driven chatbots in the past. I can't remember, was it Google or Facebook that created one, and it was too susceptible to what users told it, so it ended up being saying some horrific things to just the most basic of questions.
Good old
internet. It seems like ChatGPT is much better written in that sense. But I mean, the reaction in the Atomic Hub Discord when we were discussing it is like, oh my god, this is gonna imagine 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what this piece of software is the foundation of. And it has led to some people being worried. You mentioned that website, will my job be taken over by a robot thing? And it has, for some people, it's like, oh my god, this can do my work better than I can do it. Oh my god,
sure.
What do I do now? I'm not sure if you follow Linus Tech Tips.
Yeah.
They did, when ChatGPT released, they, on their podcast, they did essentially an entire hour on the implications of ChatGPT. But a short section of that was, should software devs be scared? If we have AI that can write code better than a programmer can, should programmers just be afraid for their job? Should they reskill? Should they think about? And their answer to it was basically, we get that it's scary, but no. There's
not yet, at least.
There's still there's still that human element, or that initial creative spark, or kind of the intention behind things that's missing from this AI. And I think for ChatGPT in particular, it's incredibly good if you need knowledge or you give it particular scripts, but it doesn't. You were talking there about kind of the applications of the metaverse environments. They don't have emotion, which is obviously that's the big kind of, hey, we've created an actual human-like intelligence here, but it's very, you give it a line of words and it interprets it and just spews back what it thinks is correct. It doesn't really have the kind of the knowledge to give an emotional response, or to have that kind of,
it doesn't have any desires, does it?
No, it doesn't have that essence of creativity and the ingenuity, really, which makes, I was going to say human operator, but that sounds a horrifically kind of 1984 term. But you see what I'm saying? That whilst there are some worries, there's still us being human and having emotion and creativity and ingenuity and all those kinds of things still puts us way ahead of an AI which it can consume the entire internet and spew back whatever information it wants. So it's very intelligent in that sense, but misses out on so many of the other things that make, having a whole team of brains that you can put onto a problem or put onto making that valuable. So, and I mean, there's so many, it's not just devs that are kind of worried about these things, we mentioned DALL-E earlier, some artists thinking, oh my god, we don't need artists anymore. We've got these AI that just make art.
Well, there's, I get hit with ads for this every second of every day. Have you seen Jasper.ai?
Yes.
The content creator. So people have been using AI to create content too. I think it does come down to creativity is a big part of it, and intent. it doesn't have a purpose or self-preservation, or I mean, it can do, but it doesn't at the moment. So its answers are just like binary. Here's question, here's answer. I'm just trying to take you Occam's razor to the best information, which is great. On that note, let's grade its answers then. I asked it a few questions.
All right.
So I started pretty difficult. So no, I started very difficult, and it went a bit mental. So
Right.
I'll just quickly read this. I said, explain what the metaverse is and how it will work. And it went a bit beep boop. And it said, the metaverse is a collective virtual shared space created by the convergence of the real and the virtual. It is a collective virtual space created by the convergence of the real and the virtual.
Wow.
Beep boop. The term was coined by Neil Stephenson in 1992 science fiction novel Snow Crash, where it described a virtual reality-based world where people could interact with each other, and it starts summarizing the novel. In a broader sense, the term metaverse can also refer to any collective virtual shared space. All right, shut up about collective. It just goes into itself there.
So to interject, I asked ChatGPT a very similar question, which was, why is the metaverse the future? And it just ended up repeating the phrase collective virtual shared space.
Right. So it's picked that up from somewhere, and it's running with it. So I then asked it another hard question, but it did a slightly better job, I'd say. I said, how does the metaverse work? Which is a very difficult question.
Yeah.
So, well, let's see what you think. I might not read all of this because it's 3 paragraphs, but the specifics of how the metaverse work are still being developed, as it is a concept that is still in the realms of science fiction. Yes and no. However, it is generally believed that the metaverse will be based on a combination of advanced technologies such as virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence. Now, do you think it inserted artificial intelligence because it wants to promote itself? Like it just...
Possibly. There's been some...
Not many people have talked that much about AI in the metaverse.
There's been some very interesting... I was listening to the latest LTT podcast this morning, actually, and they were talking about if you start asking it about the application of AI in various areas, it starts giving some very interesting responses about what it thinks the future of AI is.
Inflating
a
its
little bit,
importance.
but also it knows its own limitations, which is really odd. It was like, because one of the questions was like, oh, how do we combat the use of AI in schools and, people using it to cheat and all that. And it was like, oh, well, there's these approaches, but there's also this, and AI isn't able to do this, but you should think about things in this way. And it was like, okay, it realizes where it's good and where it's bad. And again, it's really just scanning databases and trying to develop a sense of, okay, they mean this, so what does this mean? Let's look at all of these things and try and get a response back. But yeah, that's not a bad answer, I don't think. The first part is not entirely correct, but I mean, that's up for debate anyway.
Yeah, you could debate that. I'd debate that it's probably slightly closer to right than it is wrong, because we don't have anything like that. I was just thinking, so schools is something I've thought about a lot, like kids just using it to write essays on books. I wonder if you could copy and paste an essay ChatGPT writes into ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, did you write this? And then it could give you, I wonder if it can analyze its own work. Who knows? Anyway, so then it says these technologies will allow people to enter and interact with a virtual world that is immersive and lifelike as the real world. More or less.
Yeah.
One possible way the metaverse could work is by using virtual reality headsets, Zuckerberg wrote this bit, and other wearable technology to create a fully immersive experience. Yeah, sure. These devices will allow us to see, hear, and even feel the virtual world as if we were actually there. Users would be able to interact with the virtual environment and other users in real time using natural movements and gestures. Pretty good, that. I mean, if a human wrote that, I wouldn't really question it, I don't think.
No.
Another way the metaverse could work is through augmented reality, which overlays virtual objects and information on top of the real world. This could be done using smart devices like glasses or phones, allowing users to see and interact with virtual elements in their physical surroundings. Ultimately, the exact details of the metaverse Gee, I've got COVID, by the way. Sorry, I should have said this at the start. My brain is foggy. I've had about 2 hours sleep. My household is a nightmare. Please forgive me. Ultimately, the exact details of how the metaverse will work are still up in the air. So that was that little tick that I found confusing, and will likely continue to evolve as technology advances. That's a pretty good summary.
Yeah, no, that's
it's a bit vague, but then so is the metaverse.
Yeah, there's so many things in Web3 are a bit up in the air at the moment anyway, so for it to formulate any kind of response that touches on all the points that people will debate about at the very least is very impressive. I did ask it a few questions as well. I've got it to do some dumb things like, hey, give me 10 tweets about Web3, which I've
which you're working through right now.
Well, I will say I've just used them as like ideas to base more tweets off of. So it just
great for ideas.
Just spews things at you. Then I'm like, okay, maybe I can write something about that. But I asked it some, I think, questions slightly differently to yourself. So I got a very interesting answer to the question, why do gamers hate NFTs? Okay. And it started off by saying, it's important to note that not all gamers hate NFTs. Some of them some gamers see the potential benefits, such as the ability to own unique and rare digital assets. However, there are some gamers who are critical of NFTs for a variety of reasons. And it went through some reasons, and they were all valid. You know, some people feel they're unnecessary and don't add much value. Some feel that they shouldn't overshadow gameplay. Some feel that they're going to lead to a rise in pay-to-win games. And I'm like, yeah, that's
pretty good answers.
Hit the nail on the head for all of those. And then, of course, it did the whole environmental impact thing at the end because, it's trawling the internet, so, it's only picking up on what other people have said. And then it wrapped up by saying, overall, not all gamers dislike NFTs, but there are valid concerns. And I was like, that's what I've been saying on Twitter lately anyway.
It's pretty good. But then, have you ever heard of the law of averages, or better than that is the wisdom of crowds? That's what I was trying to get at, really. It's kind of getting at that. If you collate all the opinions on something, the average of that will probably be about right. The extremes tend to be wrong. So it'll end up it essentially is the embodiment of the wisdom of crowds.
Yep.
I asked it how blockchain technology works, which should be something it can answer, and it's not bad. It's pretty good. It says blockchain is a decentralized distributed database which maintains a continuously growing list of records called blocks. Each block contains a timestamp and a link to the previous block, allowing blocks to be easily added and creating a permanent, unchangeable record. I mean, got nothing there. Blockchain technology is used to create a digital decentralized ledger of transactions that is secure and transparent. Each transaction is added to the ledger as a block, which is then timestamped, blah, blah, blah. It's going back in itself, beep, boop. The decentralized nature of blockchain technology allows it to be highly secure, as it is virtually impossible for a single user to alter the ledger without the consensus of the network. That's exactly right. Additionally, the transparent nature of the ledger allows for easy verification of transactions, as each node in the network has a complete copy of the ledger and can independently verify the validity of each transaction. I mean, wherever it's getting this information, it is, on the nose.
Yep.
Overall, blockchain technology has a potential to revolutionize a wide range of injury. Oh my God, COVID. Potential to revolutionize a wide range of industries by providing a secure, transparent, and decentralized way of recording and verifying transactions. I mean, yeah,
pretty good.
That's
rate that pretty highly.
Stuff. Yeah, I'll give it a thumbs up.
I always feel, and I think it's important to note with ChatGPT and any AI systems like this, is it's only really as intelligent as the person providing the inputs. So I tested this out a few times with trying to say the same thing in various different ways and seeing how it would respond. And this is where the gap between the abilities of ChatGPT and a human operator became very clear. I think when it's trying to just regurgitate info, or if it's trying to be creative in its own right, it can do a pretty good job. But as soon as you start asking it to do things that are quite specific and what you would actually want to use something like this for in the real world, for like more complex tasks, you know, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, it starts to trip over itself. So there's two examples here of one where what it's really good at right now and what it's not so good at. So just out of interest, obviously Saskia created the cat stickers collection. She has that on the Wax blockchain. So I said to ChatGPT, create a story of 300 to 400 words around the adventures of Tigger, which is one of Saskia's cats, and the rest of the cat stickers, a group of NFT cats. And it came back with a very interesting story about digital cats fighting hackers, and they created a backstory for Saskia's NFT collection that was actually really, really engaging. You know, it's full of descriptive language, it was very well written, it had like this story of this tiny cat fighting these hackers and then becoming a fearless leader, and it was like, this is actually really good. And then I asked ChatGPT, I was like, okay, write a 45-minute script for a video discussing the top 5 most expensive NFT sales of all time. And it picked up on the cue that it was a script, because it's like, hey, narrator, and then it wrote it as if I would say it in a video, so to speak. And it was like, hey, NFTs on non-fungible tokens are this, and today we're going to look at the top 5 most expensive NFT sales of all time. And then everything after that was just a garbled mess.
Oh, really?
Like, either it couldn't factually determine what was right and what was wrong, or it just got really confused. So, I mean, the first obvious sign that this is incorrect is, okay, it's discussing the top 5. So obviously I want a list from, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which it did, but it got them all either in the wrong order or muddled the numbers up for all of them. So, number 5 is $69 million. Number 4, 69.3. Number 3 is 60. Then it goes back up to 69.3, and then 69.3 again. So something's clearly not right there. And then it said a bit more about some of the projects. So it talked about CryptoPunks, talked about Beeple's artwork, and then it got hooked up on Sandbox's land. I was like, so number 3 is the Sandbox's land. So what, all of it? Like one NFT? What do you mean?
Yeah.
And then in December of 2020, a virtual land in the popular blockchain game, the Sandbox, sold for $60 million. I'm not sure if that's true. I don't think it is.
I don't remember that. I feel like I'd have written about that.
And then it came up with 2 pieces from Beeple. So it said he sold his first 5,000 days piece for 69.3 million, which is correct.
Yep.
But apparently he sold a piece called, under his real name, Mike Winkelmann, called the Forever Rose for 69.3 million. I was like,
To the Google mobile.
Okay. And then it came up with
what's his real name, sorry?
Mike Winkelmann. And then it said number 1 is a Metaverse NFT art collection that included works by Beeple, Trevor Jones, and other people, which also sold for 69.3 million. I was like, okay. And this is, I think, one of the main... It's easy to be incredibly impressed by ChatGPT if you ask it particular things, or if you just use it for 5 minutes. But I think as soon as you dive into it and you give it more complex things to do, it does start to trip over itself.
Which is good.
Yes, it is good. The team have come out and said that, look, it's not factually correct. Like, please don't treat it as something that is... Yeah, you need to... Whatever it gives you, if it's like critical information or information that has to be correct, you must check it elsewhere, because it's still learning at the end of the day. And I'm sure that the OpenAI team, which has created ChatGPT, hope that down the line it will be able to have that kind of... For questions like this, can more naturally formulate correct answers. But it's not there yet.
No. Forever Rose was by Kevin Abosch, and it sold for $1 million. So it's wrong on 2 fronts.
It was wrong artist, wrong price.
Yeah.
Is it an NFT? Or is it just a...
It is an NFT.
Oh, okay. So it's got that bit right.
Yeah. Okay. It did. One thing I thought of is, does it know Solidity?
That'd be interesting.
Let's find
I'm
out.
going to do some live podcast ChatGPT work.
I hope people find this as interesting as we do.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating.
And,
I mean, for those of you that haven't used ChatGPT yet, I mean, if you haven't heard of it, at the very least, you must have been living under a rock for the past week. But definitely jump into it, give it a go. I think we'll put a link in the... yeah, it's completely free to use. I think it's currently in... they're calling it a free research preview. Yeah. So will it always be free? Will they pull it from public use after some time? I don't know.
I mean, as me and my friends were saying, I would, oh my God, it's writing a smart contract right now. I'm watching it. I would, if this was behind a paywall, I'd pay.
Yeah.
Because it can save me time in ways. I know, I don't know what his job is, but basically there's a guy I know who has to go through a lot of very, very long videos. And he has been copying the closed captions, the whole script off YouTube, pasting it into ChatGPT and saying, summarize in 10 bullet points. And he reckons it's doing an amazing job. So,
I mean, this is the real application of ChatGPT and other AIs that will come from it, is that up to this point, and of course Jasper is part of this, but up to this point, so many creative human tasks, or even logical human tasks like programming, have been manual. And what I mean by that is we might have troubleshooting tools on the internet and forums and things, but it's human brains trying to understand how the world works, and we don't have any assistance with that. We have to use our own brain, our own creativity, our own ingenuity to work, to create new things or to fix things or to help other people. And what ChatGPT and other tools like Jasper are doing are making it so that we have intelligent systems that can assist us with so many of these tasks. I mean, I don't think we've really scratched the surface. We've definitely not scratched the surface in this podcast, but I don't think as a wider kind of life form as humans, we've really anticipated or really thought about all the applications this could have. I mean, it's not just Web3 and with helping NFT creators write backstories and lore and create their NFTs and create their art and AI and metaverses and all this kind of thing, but, solving real world issues like loneliness for people in care homes, or mental health support for people online who feel lonely, or diagnosing issues in secondary systems, or there's so many ways in which this can assist us. Just on that note,
I saw a doctor checking it as a diagnostician of human ailments, and it was surprisingly, not surprisingly, really. It's because it's just info in, info out, isn't it? Like if you go to the doctor and you say, there's a burning in the base of my spine and I'm being sick and it's pure blood, they're just going to say, okay, well, that's going to be this, this, or this. And that's all this does is info in, info out. And so for a lot of different things, it's very, very strong for that. But then I think a lot of the jobs that it's looking at the moment, I would say ChatGPT and AI is augmenting our lives rather than replacing anything. It is just improving it. But we shouldn't really be surprised that it is replacing some stuff. I have no doubt in my mind that in, 1890, 1900, the people making Ford cars said machines will never be able to just make cars. You can't have a machine just make a car.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And now, there's like one guy in there pressing a button and making sure no one gets sucked in and crushed. It's just kind of how it goes. And I don't think you should necessarily worry about your career choice yet, although I think some are definitely more at risk than others. I know a lot of people have been talking about content creation, and I know, again, so I've watched and read a lot about this, so I've got a lot of examples. I saw someone creating a blog that summarized gaming news. And I saw another person doing a similar thing. I can't remember what the industry was, but they were doing like a blog, and they automated almost the whole thing. So it was just creating content. That sounds good in theory, but the content isn't particularly good or engaging or unique. It's like it can't really get that singular factor. So anyone who has success with that, I think, are just going to be like flashes in the pan. They're just they'll find success because they're the first person, but you will be able to identify what was written by AI and what's not. It's a little bit like the AI in camera phones. You know, I've got a background as a photographer. It's getting close now, but for the last 10 years, people have been using, fake depth of field to make it look as if you're using a mirrorless camera or DSLR. Yep. And I have always been able to tell that it's not. It's only the last probably 2 years that if you know how to fake it properly, and that is like set it up in a way that the AI is getting 100% of its value, then you can trick people. But I don't know. I'm not particularly worried about it. What I am interested in is its role in Web3 and how Web3 plays out, because it can certainly expedite certain things. I mean, it's just written me this smart contract. The only difficulty is my Solidity knowledge is so basic. There's no way I can check if this is wrong. It's basically created it looks like it's just created a simple NFT that you can change owner, and that's it. I think that's what it's done. But it's then taken the time to explain what it's created and what functions do, which is crazy. But yeah, so NFTs is something I want to talk about because I want to just basically rant. I don't feel well. I've had very little sleep, and I want to rant about. Have I done this on the pod before? You know what I'm going to rant about. I'm going to rant about AI generated art that's being sold as NFTs.
I think we've discussed it, but I don't think we went into too much depth when we did. I mean, it's a huge issue, and I
cannot believe how many collections are getting away with it. Like this is another example that Dolly, I can spot almost every single one of them instantly, whether it was with that or not. Now, I've seen two ways of getting around it. Either one, you spend forever honing your the prompt text to get the perfect outcome, but then you'll find it very difficult to replicate that with a different subject. There'll be no it won't be congruent between the two styles, so it won't look like art. Or that's really the only way round it. There's a few random examples, but if you go on GameStop's NFT marketplace. So when I was beta testing this, they had 10 featured collections. Okay. And I think 3 were AI, but they said nothing about AI, but it was just, so obvious.
Yep.
At the moment, Evolvements. So I'm just on their featured collections at the moment. There's something called Evolvements.
Okay.
I would say this is AI. It's just so lazy, and it really winds me up that people are making money from it.
I think I don't have an issue with AI art in and of itself. I have an issue with people declaring whether it's AI art or not.
Yeah, you should have to declare it.
If it is AI art, you have to declare it, because it's becoming more and more difficult to distinguish between what's been made by an AI and what's been human made. And I mean, we've seen examples of there was this tweet that went around some time ago where there's this artist doing a live stream, and a viewer basically took a screenshot of it, put it into, I'm not sure if it was DALL-E or some other kind of AI art generator, and basically just said, finish this image. And it did it. It was like, it added detail, it added body parts, it finished the rest of the drawing that wasn't in the screenshot. And it was like, if AI can do that, then, and people aren't going to disclose that, oh, hey, this was sourced from this, and then we used this AI, and then it came out with this, then I can understand artists being very reticent and hesitant to engage with AI, but this is where I think blockchain tech can come in and hopefully, possibly help in scenarios such as this. So, for example, if this was being sold as an NFT in particular, and Adobe have kind of done this in a way where you can save a Photoshop document and it can be like, hey, this is an authentic, this is the Photoshop document that this NFT comes from.
Yeah.
If we can have more than that and be like, hey, let's say a AI art provider partners with a blockchain or the marketplace, and then they can create that integration. So rather than it being on the person that uploaded the art to say, hey, this was made by an AI, make it so that the AI art provider themselves is being like, hey, this is AI, just so everyone is aware. Because I think unless we go down that path, it's going to be really tricky.
But then you've got, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate. You've got the grey areas. So I know a lot of photographers that have been using AI to replace skies or use content aware fill in Photoshop, which for anyone who doesn't know, you select an area of your image, and if there's nothing in it, it generates pixels to put in there based on what's around it. And it's now got to the point when it first came out, it was, I mean, unless you had a flat texture, it was just horrendous. But now so I actually use it. Funnily enough, I use it all the time for featured images on articles. Okay. Because I need it to be 16:9, and often they're not that ratio. So I will just create a 16:9 image. There'll be a white border either left and right of the image, and then I'll just content aware fill, and it'll just fix it for me. So the issue is that a lot of photographers, so say you used, there's something called Skylum that does a sky replacement software. There's actually tons that do it. I mean, in Photoshop, you can even change the season in your image. So if a photographer takes an amazing image, but then it makes it really amazing by using AI, do they need to declare it? It starts to get rid of, and sorry, that was the other, when I said there's two ways of using it, where people can't tell, the other way I was going to say is when an artist either uses a prompt and then edits that image to make it something better, or they do some of the work and then get AI to finish it, like your example. So they're working kind of hand in hand with it rather than, I think I can get more on board with that than I can these people that are just typing in, you know, like I created some artwork. So back when DALL-E first came out, I got into the closed beta of it. Okay. I was begging for ages because I wanted to write about it and test it. But really it was purely selfish. I just wanted to play with it, which I did. And then I had to buy credits because I got so addicted to it. And I have created, I mean, I might just show you at some point, but I created an art collection. I was trying to create something that looked like it was by the same artist. And at the time I sent it to a few friends and be like, because you saw I did digital art on, what was it? DeviantArt many years ago when I was like 14. So I just sent it to a few friends. I was like, I did some digital art. Like, what do you think? And a few people were like, oh wow. Like, this is really cool. I really like this. And you couldn't tell. There was no way you could tell. But now, because so many people have used DALL-E images, I think its fingerprints are more visible on it. Yeah. And what I did there was I found, this is probably like just a blueprint for people to create rubbish NFTs and sell them. But the way I got them to look all part of the same collection is I found words that always had the same results. And then I picked two colors. So I picked primary color of teal, secondary color of orange, because that's the famous complementary colors. Mm-hmm. And then I would use certain words like, I can't remember the words I used, but say it was dystopian. Dystopian would always get the same sort of result. Yep. So, and I was just basically building it. And then I was just tweaking like 3 or 4 words per sentence until I created a full collection. I could have put those up as NFTs. I mean, maybe I should have, but I don't like that. That really, you could argue that it's a skill creating these prompts, but I think that's a weak argument that's going to fall apart pretty quickly.
Yeah, you just need a decent enough grasp of the English language and then enough time to sit with the AI to get what you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
It's intriguing. Both DALL-E and ChatGPT are created by the same company, which is OpenAI. And there's already been people that are trying to use ChatGPT to create prompts to feed into DALL-E to create particular images and things, which...
That gets messy.
It gets messy quickly, and I think it goes back to the point that for just the sake of transparency and doing the right thing, there's in particular when it comes to NFTs, there's a need for people to now be able to know what is organic art and what is AI art. I mean, I know there's particular artists on the Wax blockchain that do art, via their iPad or via whatever it is, that I wouldn't really be able to distinguish what they do from AI if you gave me both of them. So,
But I think that's just a situation where you have to evolve. That sucks. But so be it. I used to do headshots of actors about 9 years ago. I used to do headshots of actors, right? And I wanted to create a style that was simple enough that I could always replicate it with anyone, anywhere. That was important, anywhere. So I could do it on set for people. And I created a very simple shot. It was like straight on. I used the same settings basically every time. I just adjusted the ISO. So I'd always get roughly the same result. And then I'd edit it in the same way. And it was successful at the time. Like there was a lot of new actors and stuff that wanted it. But then it got to the point where I could more or less recreate it with my phone. And then I realized that what I'm selling is becoming less valuable.
Yep.
Where almost anybody could recreate it. An example of this is I did a photography job for a major hedge fund in London, and they expect the very best of everything, right? And I did a shoot all day, and we finished and packed up, and I had a ton of equipment. So it took like 45 minutes for me to pack down into the bags. And then this guy comes up and was like, I'm here for my headshot. And I was with the person that works there that's like kind of my boss on that job. And she was like, we've already packed everything down. He was like, I don't have a headshot. Like, can you do anything? And I used my iPhone to try and recreate what I would usually do using a window rather than my light and a reflector and just my iPhone with a white background. And it was, if you opened it full size on a full size monitor, you'd be like, oh no, it's not good enough. But they're just having it as like a little profile picture.
Yep.
There's no way you can tell the difference. And after I did it, I was like, should I have shown them that I could just do that on my phone in 2 seconds? Like, am I devaluing myself? I think you have no choice, and this goes with everything, including content. You have to use this to push yourself forward.
Yeah,
you have to make 100%. Yourself unique.
Yeah, no, this, as you said earlier, where we're at the moment is that things like ChatGPT and DALL-E in a certain respect augment what we can already do. And I think especially in Web3, I mean, we have to be flexible and adaptable anyway. And this is just another example of that. Maybe something like ChatGPT can now write all of your lore and can write good articles, but it can't make an engaging video. It can't make, things that are appeal to other human beings. It just knows facts and it knows things it's learned. And I mean, the task now is to be like, okay, I don't have to do this, so I can spend more time on other things where 100%. Where who I am has more of an impact. So
yeah, well, I think that's really where we're at. So in that regard, it's doing nothing but improving Web3 because it is saving time and it can do the basic stuff for us.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we've talked about how it can help devs, and I think that's great. It's not going to replace devs, but it absolutely helps them, and it will make Solidity development. I mean, it's just written you a smart contract.
Has no idea what.
No idea what it does. But if someone was a Solidity dev, they can look at that and be like, okay, it kind of does this. But what if I want to add this? What if I want to change this? And it becomes a tool to assist development rather than take it over.
I know a coder who's using it to proof stuff. So, I mean, it's I think at the moment it's nothing but positive for Web3.
Yep.
But there are elements of things I don't love. Obviously, I think AI generated NFT art is just, I think you've already missed the boat if you've started doing that now. I think you've too long missed the boat. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I mean, I guess, and this has only just occurred to me, so I haven't really thought it through, but I guess one issue with using it to code, particularly like Solidity or smart contracts, is if there is an error in the way it codes or a security flaw, there's going to be way more stuff exploited because way more people are going to have used that code. Although, would they have got the code from the same place as ChatGPT gets it? It's almost impossible to know, but there probably are more risks than we realize. And like you said, like we are scratching the surface, not even scratching the surface.
And we're heading more and more into an internet future where this kind of this ledger, or having something like the blockchain to verify, okay, what was used to make this? Was it organic? Did it touch this AI? Is it come from? This is where blockchain tech can really go hand in hand with the future of AI and image generation, to create just more transparency. I mean, like I said, just so people are aware that if something's been made by a human or made by an AI, or did it start off as something human and was augmented? Like these are the things that blockchain can help to solve, and it will certainly have widespread impacts across Web3. Do we know what all those will be yet? No, but I'm sure there's many people out there that are working on various different ways, and they can make their mark on Web3 using these tools that we have available to us now. So.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm already really enjoying what people are doing with ChatGPT. It's every day I'm looking at new examples of people figuring stuff out, and I worry that a lot of the early blockchain games could have been done by AI.
By an AI, probably. Oh my god, that's the next task. Can someone get a combination of ChatGPT and DALL-E 2 to create a clicker? Like a Web3
I have no doubt you can. That guy's doing a platformer, and apparently it can code in Solidity. So there's no way you couldn't do a platformer in the thing is, at the moment, you do need to have there's requisite knowledge of Unity or whatever SDK you use, and there's just a few things that you need to be able to tie together. You need to know how to implement a smart contract into a game. You need to know the basics of how blockchain works and things. But if you do have a basic knowledge, I mean, I reckon I could muddle through. Maybe this is my next project. Maybe I'll see.
Yeah, be a new series on Token Gamer. Can I make a blockchain game from scratch with zero knowledge of?
But then, do I get sued by ChatGPT if it makes me billions of Ethereum? Do they just sue me? Be like, well, actually, you didn't do anything.
We'll see. I've seen some. I can't remember the name of them on Twitter, but they put a tweet out a few days ago, being like, "Okay, all of my tweets for the next week are going to have been generated through ChatGPT, and I'm going to check at the end of the week whether I've got more or less engagement or reaction than I do normally." And I think he's set to kind of end that at the end of this week, and it'll be interesting to see whether he himself is better at writing tweets for his audience, or can the AI do it better than he does it?
I think ChatGPT should win that if you know how to prompt it properly. Because if you prompt it like, I don't know if it can troll Twitter in this way, but if you could prompt it, say, write a tweet on the metaverse, optimized for maximum engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why am I just saying this to you?
But also, on that note, can it do things like write a tweet in the style of this person? Or,
yes,
for example, with DALL-E 2, can it be create a piece in the style of Banksy? Or
I think if there's a big enough body of work, it's a little bit like, that Black Mirror episode where the woman's husband dies, and then she lets the AI go through all of his emails and texts and everything, and then develop his personality into AI. I don't think we're that far away from that, which is terrifying.
That is pretty terrifying.
Okay, here you go. Shall we both send this out later?
Oh, here we go.
The hash metaverse is coming. Get ready to enter a virtual world where anything is possible and your wildest dreams can become a reality. Are you ready to join the adventure? Hashtag virtual reality, hashtag augmented reality, hashtag AI. Oh, it threw hashtag AI in there.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh, that's brilliant. I've given it some tweet prompts that are like, write 10 lines between 50 and 100 words each. To motivate the NFT community, and it comes back with some interesting stuff. Let's say it does a pretty good job. I mean, I've not posted anything verbatim from it, but it is really good for like getting ideas for things.
Yeah, for sure. This is I keep clicking try again just to see what it comes up with, and it's the same. To me, it does sound a bit roboty. Just discovered the concept of the hashtag metaverse, and I'm blown away. Imagine a virtual world where we can interact and experience anything we can imagine. The potential for creativity, connection, and innovation is limitless. Are you ready to join me in the hashtag metaverse?
I mean, that is literally like script you'd read on a website for like a game or a metaverse, and then like, it's like
copy.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Oh god, we're gonna get all these crap NFT projects. They're just going to use ChatGPT and DALL-E to augment. Like you come across a lot of like rug pulls where you look at their website copy and it's like, yeah, this is obviously like a rug pull. It's terrible. But now they can use ChatGPT and put convincing stuff up there. So now what do we do?
ChatGPT, how can I effectively pull off a rug pull?
Oh,
Summarise in 10 bullet points.
I bet it can give you a convincing answer for that as well.
Oh god, yeah.
That's the unfortunate thing. Anyway, that has been episode 49 of the Mint One podcast, and
that means our 50th episode is the next week's episode. It is summarising and drinking.
It is where we'll recap revisit our 2021 predictions episode and see how right or wrong we were. So it should be a good one next week. But in the meantime, Rob, where can we find you?
You can find me at tokengamer.io, where we're currently doing a giveaway for Tolan World's access keys for the pre-alpha. That game, I keep using the same two words, cozy and nostalgic, but it is cozy and nostalgic AF.
Okay.
Just a really cool old school MMO. Go into that. It's free to enter, and we're giving away 20, so you got decent odds. At Token Gamer News on Twitter, Token Gamer on YouTube, Token Gamer on Twitch. Super Dope still streaming lots of different things. I think he played the Illuvium beta last night.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. That'll do. That's everything. Where can we find you, John?
So it's nftinsider.io for the latest NFT news. We just published an interview with Ben Fairbank, CEO of RFox, about all the stuff he's doing. Very cool metaverse he's building over there. Socials at nftinsider_io for the latest stuff in Web3. For me personally, at Hydropowered, HYDROPWRD on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Clubhouse. Be Real, if anyone's bothered about that. Are you on Be Real yet, Rob?
Never even heard of it.
Oh, okay.
Let me just ask ChatGPT what it is. Summarise Be Real for me.
Oh, Be Real's great. It kind of, it's great, I'll talk about it a bit. It gives you, it will send you one notification a day.
Right.
And you have 2 minutes to take a picture of what it is you're doing. And that's all you can upload. You can only upload once a day, and it's that one thing. So you just go through your list, and it's like, so-and-so. So rather than Instagram, which is like, I'm on the flight, I'm wearing a Rolex. It's like, I'm in my bathroom or watching the telly.
I'm taking a dump. I'm taking the bins out.
but no, it's interesting seeing people's real lives. Anyway, I think most interestingly on our side will be videos coming out in the next couple of weeks. We have various pieces of end-of-year content, so the best blockchain games on various different blockchains, plus an overall list for the best games of the year. Plus, we're going to be looking forward to 2023 and the top upcoming releases to keep an eye out for, so look out for those. But yeah, that is all from me. Good timing as well. We've just hit the 1 hour mark, so... Thank you very much for watching, everybody. That was episode 49 of the Mint One podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. It would be great. And leave a comment with what you want us to cover next, who you want us to talk to, all that good stuff. Spotify and Apple 5-star podcast review, please. That would be brilliant. And that is it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see you again for our likely going to end up being a drunk episode next week.